Okay, in this video we are going to cover adding a section into our generic website here, and we're going to put that underneath our YouTube embedded video, which is all right here. We did that in that previous video. So let's go ahead and get underneath our header. Just going to add our section element. Hit your tab key. That gets both your beginning and end. Let's give this a class of who and what, because we're going to be adding some elements in there, describing basically who the website is for and what it's about. And we're just going to be using place kitten imagery, and we're going to be using lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is just a placekeeper, just garbled up words. They just call it lorem ipsum. Don't ask me why, I have no clue. So what I'm going to do is, in this particular video, I'm just going to build out the section without any actual images or any words. I'm just going to add, like for the title, I'll give it like a welcome. So let's go ahead and do that. You want to get in between your section, your beginning and end tags. So let's see what we want to do first. We're going to need something to describe this particular section. So I think that we will just call it, for ease of use, we'll just call it the welcome section. We're going to give that, we're going to make that an H2. Remember, hit your tab. Okay, and we'll just do this. We're going to write your welcome in there for now, and then that way we just know what we're doing. Now, you don't want to put anything else inside of this at the moment, because we're not going to style it out. Okay, not yet. So now after your H2 element, let's put a note in here, because we're going to do this as a series of rows. Okay, so let's do our control / to get our note in there, and then we're just going to call this first row. Okay, and in that first row, we're going to put a div. Okay, and let's see, inside of that div, we're going to put another div. Okay, and now inside of this particular div, we want our first image. So let's go ahead and do an image. Okay, now the image tag doesn't have an ending tag to it. Okay, so one of the things that what we're doing is div. Okay, so let's get to the end of this. I want to make sure that I'm adding in there all the things that I want in this particular portion. So after this image, we're going to add another div. Okay, and this div is going to encompass your paragraph. So let's go ahead and do that. Div. All right, and so in here this is where you're going to add your you're going to put inside of this div, you're going to put your another like a H3 element, which is another title. So let's go ahead and do that. So H3 div, and let's call that, we're going to name your titles, just so that we get that straight, who and what. And you don't want anything else inside of this title at the moment. So let's go down to now we're going to add our words in, and so we're going to do a p tag, and there will be a beginning and end, and you're going to put your lorem ipsum inside here. And so in order to do that, all you got to do is lorem and then hit your tab, and it just appears. Okay, so then you have, this is your lorem ipsum. And if you want it to be a bit longer, you can just do that again. And I'm kind of a wordy person, so I like a lot of words. Unfortunately, on websites, people don't read. They don't like to read as much. Let me put it to you that way. So you want to keep these descriptions of your photos uh, very brief. So now above this, we have our image. We have our div containing our block for our both our title and our paragraph. And within that, we're going to style that out and make it sit on above, below, left side, right side, wherever you want to put it. Okay, so we now have that going. Okay, and let's make sure that we do this right. Okay. Now we're gonna put. And you want to, and what you want to do is, because we're gonna do our second row now, you want in your second row to be encapsulated inside of your first div here, because this div is what we're going to use to manipulate the blocks and style them and maneuver them around to your left, your right, your above, your beyond, things like that. So you want to keep that inside here. And these two divs, one by the cursor and the one above, those are the ones that are for that particular portion of this section. That's that block in particular. So let's go back down here and let's start our second row. Now our second row is going to have similar elements. We're going to put in, first of all, let's do our note, Control /. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to have an image. We're going to have some lorem ipsum. We're going to have a title, and things like that. So let's go ahead and just give this a second row description in here. Okay, and you can put them in different. You can put your image in below your paragraph, or your paragraph above your image. You know, whichever way you want to do it. It's going to read it in that manner. But I'm just going to do things relatively the same for now, and we're going to use our Tailwind CSS classes to maneuver these items. So let's go ahead and get this started. We've got a div, and then inside of that div, we're going to have another div, and then inside of that div, we are going to have our h3. Okay, let's go ahead and name that. Let's just name it our services. Okay. Okay, so again, don't put anything inside of that particular tag. So now we have our h3, and we're going to want to go ahead and do our p tag. Tab. There it is. Let's do our lorem. And tab it out. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it with the one portion of that. Okay, so now we have our h3. We've got our paragraph in there. And now on this particular one, we are going to put our image after this p tag. So let's go ahead and do that. Sorry. Okay, so we have here. Okay, in between this particular div and the other two is this. That's where we want to be. So now here we're going to do our image. We're going to tab it out. Okay, we're not going to put anything in there for now. Let me make sure. I want to make sure that I don't have a div. I do have a div surrounding that. So let's go ahead and put that in. And we'll just cut this one. I just want that one around your image. Okay, there you go. And let's let's do this. We just want to bump that in a little bit. Okay. So we have boom, boom, boom. Yep, then 1, 2. Sure. Okay, now let's go to our third row. Again, we want to keep that inside of this particular div. So we will put it between the two that close out that particular block with our image in it and our paragraph. So let's put our note, control /. Let's call this third row. Oops, always do that. I never took a keyboarding class. Back when I was going to school, you get made fun of if you took a typing class as a male. So I went ahead and never did that. All right, let's go. So again, we're going to do similar things. And I think with this one in particular, let's see. Okay. I'm just making sure that I'm giving you everything that you need. I apologize here for the delay. Let's go ahead and put a div. Let's tab that. I'm going to put another div in there. Tab that. So I'm just kind of doing this as I go along. That's why my direction is a bit choppy. I'm trying to remember everything to put in here, and it's it can be a challenge. Now let's go ahead and in our second one, let's put our image in there. So we're going to do our image first. So the way that this is going to be, it's going to be your images on the left side of the viewport as you look, and your wording for your first row, and your wording is going to be on the right side as you look at the viewport. And then the next one, the writing, your lorem ipsum will be on the left, and your photo will be on the right. And then the third row, your photo will be back on the left, and your paragraph and your lorem ipsum will be back on the right. So that's just how we're doing this, just so you're aware. So, and then that's why I'm getting myself confused, because I'm trying to keep track of that as I go, and I'm trying to eliminate the need for a lot of added classes inside of our HTML. So if you do it this way, it will read it in this manner and make it just a little bit easier, so then you can use a few less classes. Because one of the things that you want to make sure that you do when you're building out a website is make your HTML very neat, very clean, and very easy to read. That's why when you learn it, you learn by using a separate CSS style sheet and a separate JavaScript sheet and things like that. But a lot of the times when you're using a templated system like a GoDaddy or SiteGround or Bluehost or one of those hosting platforms and building platforms, is that everything's in the HTML, and it can be a little bit confusing. So when you use near inspect element, so in order to avoid that, you learn how to separate your files so that you have a JavaScript file, CSS file, and your HTML file. And that's how you code it. And you just put the links in on your head, as we did in previous videos, so that you can call those into play and that they will work with the elements that you have them designated to work with. So that's typically how you would want to build this out. But I'm trying to learn a new framework, Tailwindcss, and so it's mostly inline styles, and then we have our custom CSS style sheet, which is over here on the left hand side of this version of Visual Studio Code that I'm using. And the reason that I use Visual Studio Code, one, it's free, and you can do a lot with it. It's a really great IDE, really great for this. Okay, so let's get back to our third row, because I digress, which isn't abnormal. So we've got our image in there. Okay, we've got our div surrounding it. Let's get outside of that div. And let's put in here, let me see, we're going to do another div We'll do an H3 and we'll do a P tag. So let's do that. Let's go div. Inside of that, we're going to do an H3. And what's going to be this particular, oops. No, that's okay. Sorry, I didn't do that. I didn't do that right. I apologize for that. Really messed that up. Jeez, man. Okay. All right, let's get this indented. It drives me nuts. I like to have mine indented. It just helps me understand how I'm laying out the page. It's very helpful to lay out your code in a manner that makes sense to you, and it gives it that nice, neat look so you can follow the code as it's read. Okay, so now that I have myself completely confused, we're going to name this H3 our team. And so, again, we're just going to be using generic images and things like that. Okay, so now we have our H3 in there. Let's do our P tag. That's going to be in the same div. Okay, and let's put our lorem in. Okay. Boom, boom. I think that is... Yeah, I think that's good. I think that we'll close it out with that right there. Okay, so here it is. All right, in all of its glory. This is our who and what. I use camel case here, just a habit. So this is our welcome section. And I suppose, honestly, you know what? I wonder if I should just do that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to change this who and what class to welcome. There. That just makes it a little bit easier for me. Like if I'm doing my classes and I jump over to my CSS style sheet over here, you see nav bar transparent. This is from prior custom styles that we added to our nav bar. And our nav bar. Okay, I'm going to show you that. Yeah, okay. So what I would do, because this is my nav bar, this is all nav bar. I've also given a hidden class display of none. Now I can take this hidden class and I can place that in anything else that I want. And the CSS is going to override this. If I give the hidden and important, then it will override what I have in my HTML styling and use that hidden class to write up what we want to be in there for our custom style for that. But now what I want to do real quick is I want to show you what we have for our live server right now. And that just took me a second. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I'm using a new software to do this. So this is what we have. And I know you look up here and you see what it looks like beneath the crash, blah, blah, blah. That's all coded inside of the YouTube. Some of these things you can get rid of. Some of them you necessarily can't. So what you'd have to do is put it in your video editor and get rid of those items. But I just wanted to use a generic YouTube video just to put it in there so you can see what we've got. We've got our transparent nav bar, our little, this could be your logo, and you have affiliate services unique, you've got your hover element, things like that, okay? And so what you wanted was this scroll effect, right? So we got that. So now our newest stuff that we added is just going to show this right here. You see it? You can barely see it down here. This is what we've added. This is just our HTML, so we haven't styled it or anything. You barely see it. It's that old color that I put behind the background screen so that I could do this transition transform style that I wanted to do. And again, as a junior developer, these are things that are ongoing in development so that I can learn as well as I teach other people to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. And in the next video, we're going to get back to this welcome section, and we're going to add in there our images from Place Kitten. I've already showed you how to do the lorem ipsum, so you can do that. Remember, you just type lorem, this right here, and then you hit your tab key, and it'll print out some old Latin words. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't. And so we have our notes, first row, second row, and third row. And you'll notice that there's slight differences in there, like I explained before. But we'll come back and we'll drop our images in there, and then we'll start to add some classes and things like that. So